Let me tell you something most men learn too late. The moment you stop talking to her, something shifts. Not in you, in her. It's quiet. It's invisible, but it's real. And what happens next will teach you more about attraction, respect, and power than 1,000 conversations ever could. Because here's the truth, nobody wants to say out loud. Your silence will move her more than your words ever did. You've been there. You know the feeling. You text her first. You ask how her day was. You send the meme. You check in. You explain yourself when she goes cold. You reassure her when she pulls back. You stay available because you think that's what caring looks like. And slowly, without realizing it, you become background noise. She replies hours later. She's busy. She's tired. She forgets to respond altogether. And when you bring it up, suddenly you're needy. You're insecure. You're too much. So you try harder. You text more. You explain more. You give more attention, more energy, more of yourself. And the distance between you grows wider. This is the chase trap. And it's killing your value in her eyes. Because here's what's happening underneath the surface. Every time you reach out first, every time you fill the silence, every time you seek her validation, you're sending a message. Not with your words, with your behavior. You're saying, I need you more than you need me. And the moment that message gets received, attraction starts to die. Not because she's cruel, not because she's playing games, but because human psychology doesn't reward what it can predict. It doesn't value what it can take for granted, and it doesn't chase what's already caught. You want to know what happens when you stop talking to her? You force her to feel something she hasn't felt in a while. Your absence. And absence does something that presence never can. It creates a gap, a silence, a question that sits in her mind and refuses to leave. Where did he go? Why hasn't he texted? Did I do something wrong? Does he not care anymore? Suddenly she's the one checking her phone. She's the one replaying the last conversation. She's the one wondering if she misread the situation. This is called perceived value recalibration, and it happens automatically when you remove your attention, because attention is currency, and when you give it freely, constantly without reciprocation, it loses its worth. But when you pull it back, when you stop chasing, stop explaining, stop filling every silence with your presence, that currency becomes rare, and rare things are valuable. Let me tell you about a guy I know. We'll call him Daniel. Daniel met a woman who seemed perfect. Smart, beautiful, fun to be around. They went on a few dates. The chemistry was real, or so he thought. But after a few weeks he noticed a pattern. She'd take hours to respond. She'd cancel plans last minute. She'd be warm one day and distant the next. And every time he pulled back, even slightly, she'd re-engage just enough to keep him around. So Daniel did what most men do. He stayed consistent. He kept texting. He kept planning. He kept showing up because he thought that's what you're supposed to do when you care about someone, and she kept drifting further away. One night, after another half-hearted reply, Daniel made a decision. He didn't block her. He didn't send a dramatic goodbye message. He just stopped. No more good morning texts. No more asking about her day. No more double texting when she didn't reply. He went completely silent. 3 days passed, nothing. Then on the 4th day, she texted, "Hey stranger, you okay?" He didn't respond. A week later, another message. "Did I do something wrong?" Still nothing. 2 weeks in, she called, left a voicemail saying she missed talking to him and wanted to see him. Daniel didn't respond to that either. And here's what's important. He wasn't playing a game. He wasn't trying to manipulate her. He was genuinely done. He realized that chasing someone who doesn't meet you halfway isn't love. It's self-abandonment. But what happened in her mind during those 2 weeks? That's where the lesson lives. She went from indifference to curiosity, from curiosity to confusion, from confusion to concern, and from concern to a genuine re-evaluation of his value in her life. Because when you're always there, she never has to wonder if you'll leave. She never has to question if she's losing something real. She never has to face the possibility that you might choose yourself over her. But when you go silent, all of that comes rushing in. Now let's be clear about something. This isn't about revenge. It's not about punishing her for not giving you what you wanted. It's about understanding a fundamental truth that the Stoics taught 2,000 years ago. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Your peace cannot depend on her reply. Your worth cannot be tied to her attention. Your emotional state cannot rise and fall with her moods. When you stop talking to her, you're not doing it to get a reaction. You're doing it to reclaim yourself. Because somewhere along the way, you gave her control over how you feel. You made her the center of your emotional world. And that's not love. That's dependence. Detachment isn't cold. It's not cruelty. It's the refusal to let someone else's inconsistency determine your peace. And when you embody that detachment, something powerful happens. You stop being reactive. You stop being predictable. You stop being easy to take for granted. And she feels it. So what will she do when you stop talking to her? Let's break it down. First, she'll test you. She'll send a casual message. Maybe a meme, maybe a hey, maybe something that requires no real effort, but checks if you're still orbiting her world. This is the temperature test. She wants to see if you're still available. If you respond immediately, if you re-engage with the same energy you always had, you've told her nothing has changed. You're still the same man she can take for granted. But if you don't respond, if you stay silent, she moves to phase 2, curiosity. Now she's actually thinking about you. Why isn't he answering? Is he mad? Is he talking to someone else? Did I lose him? This is where the shift begins. Because for the first time, she's considering the possibility that you're not waiting around, that you have options, that your attention isn't guaranteed. Phase 3 is reevaluation. She starts replaying the relationship in her mind. She remembers the good moments. She wonders if she took you for granted. She considers reaching out for real, not just with a breadcrumb, but with genuine effort. This is the phase where respect gets born. Because respect doesn't come from chasing. It comes from boundaries, from self-respect, from the quiet strength of a man who knows his worth and doesn't beg for hers. And phase 4? She either steps up or steps out. If she was never serious, if you were just an option, a source of validation, a backup plan, your silence will make her disappear completely. And that's not a loss. That's clarity. But if there was something real, if she genuinely valued you but got comfortable, your absence will wake her up. She'll reach out with intention. She'll show effort. She'll meet you halfway. And that's when you'll know the truth. Not because you manipulated it, but because you stopped pretending. You stopped chasing. You stopped making someone a priority who only saw you as an option. Here's the thing most men don't realize. When you stop talking to her, you're not just affecting her psychology. You're reclaiming your own. You're teaching yourself that your peace matters, that your time has value, that you don't need to convince anyone to see your worth. And that lesson is more valuable than any relationship. Because the man who can walk away is the man who doesn't need to. The man who can be silent is the man who's no longer afraid of losing her. And the man who's not afraid of losing her is the man she'll actually respect. This is why silence is power. Not because it manipulates, but because it reveals. It reveals whether she values you or just your attention. It reveals whether there's mutual respect or one-sided effort. It reveals whether you're building something real or just feeding your own need to be needed. So here's what I want you to do. The next time you feel that urge to text her first, to explain yourself, to fill the silence because her distance makes you uncomfortable, I want you to pause. Take 48 hours. Not as a game, not as a strategy, but as a practice in self-respect. During those 48 hours, notice what comes up. Notice the anxiety, the fear of losing her, the need to control the outcome. Notice how much of your emotional state is tied to her response. And then ask yourself, is this love or is this dependence? Because a man who loves himself doesn't chase, he offers. And if it's not received with respect, he walks. Not in anger, not in bitterness, but in peace. That's the Stoic way. That's the path of self-mastery. And when you walk it, something shifts. Not just in her, in you. You stop giving your power away. You stop letting someone else's inconsistency shake your foundation. You become unmoved by rejection, because you're no longer seeking completion outside yourself. And here's the beautiful irony. The moment you stop needing her to validate you, the moment you stop chasing her approval, the moment you choose silence over desperation, you become the man she can't ignore. Not because you're playing hard to get, but because you're actually hard to get. Because your attention is no longer free, your energy is no longer cheap, your presence is no longer guaranteed. And that kind of man, that kind of energy, it commands respect. Even if she doesn't come back, even if she walks away, you'll know you honored yourself. And that's worth more than any relationship built on chasing. So let her wonder. Let her feel your absence. Let her sit in the silence you create when you stop, filling every gap with your words, your attention, your need to be seen. Because the right woman won't punish you for having boundaries. She won't pull away when you stop chasing. She'll meet you there. She'll match your energy. She'll show up. And the wrong woman, she'll disappear. And you'll realize that was the best thing that could have happened. Because you can't lose what was never yours. And you can't chase someone into loving you. All you can do is love yourself enough to stop trying. So here's my question for you. What's one moment where silence taught you more than words ever could? Drop it in the comments. Let's learn from each other. And if this hit you where it needed to, do me a favor. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. Because we're building something here. A community of men who choose strength over neediness, peace over chaos, self-respect over validation. Stay strong, stay silent when you need to. And remember, the man who can walk away is the man who never has to beg to stay. This is Stoic truth, where silence becomes strength.